So it is a great pleasure for us to do this interview with you. Roberto has already interviewed you 2 times, one as a member of Sons of Apollo, and one when you put out your last album, Little Brother is Watching. Yeah, a little while ago. Yeah. Now on the 24th of January, you're putting out a new album called Bumblefoot Returns that will be released and soon. And in fact, you have already unveiled the first single, Simon Space, which is more experimental and very interesting. Does the rest of the album follow this path?
Yes, it's very diverse, the album. It's just whatever I felt at the moment that I was making a song. So there's a song like Simon in Space, which is, heavier, and then there's songs that are more classical. There's songs that are more bluesy. It's just whatever I felt. There's more than one direction to a person. Everybody has, a lot more to it. So I just showed every side of myself. There's more than one side to every human being. So I just showed all the sides in the guitar music. And yeah. So even my very first album was like that. The Adventures of Bumblefoot, 30 years ago. It was the same way. There were different types of songs. They weren't all the same type of song. Because I'm not the same type of person all the time, so the music should reflect that.
Okay. If I'm not mistaken, renowned artists as Steve Vai, Brian May, and Derek Sherinian will be collaborating on this album. How did all these collaborations come about?
I knew them, so that's it.
Okay.
very
organic, no?
Just like normal stuff. Like, you hear a song and you could imagine someone you know on the song, or maybe someone you don't know, but you picture somebody that feels like their spirit would complete the song. So you reach out and you ask. Yeah.
Okay. On previous occasions, you have played all the instruments in an album by yourself. Apart from these collaborations, is everything in the album performed by you, or you have other collaborations in this album?
Most of my albums, I have a drummer, because I am a terrible drummer. So I have a drummer to play, and then I'll do bass, I'll do guitar, everything else.
Okay.
And producer also.
Yeah. So I'm sort of overseeing the whole idea, the direction, the sound, the mixing, everything. Mm-hmm. And I love producing, especially other people, taking other bands, bringing them into the studio, and helping them achieve their sound, their music, make it alive, make it sound as much like them as. Yeah.
Okay. Now we wanted to ask you, which are the guitars that you used in this album?
This guitar.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow.
I use this one for just about everything. Pretty much 99% of the album was this guitar. And this bass, it's a Vigier 4-string, but I have it tuned like the lowest strings of a 5-string, like a B, E, A, D, and that's my bass. And then for acoustic guitar, is it in here? Let's go get it. All right, I'm going to go find my acoustic guitar. Here's all my room of fragrant stuff. And this acoustic guitar, this is a Cort A8 Gold. And that's what I use for acoustic. And close that case. And yeah, I got the Morley Wah. And I used a talk box, like just an old standard, talk box. And, oh, and where is it? Where is it? Where is it? My favorite pedal. Yeah. And the Digitech Freakout pedal.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So I use the Freakout pedal, Morley Walk. But the main thing that I use for everything, where I get all my sound, is the Line 6 Helix. That. The pedal, the plug-in, that's where I get all my sounds and where I could really get creative, is with the Line 6 Helix.
Okay. Now, I wanted to ask you, this is an instrumental album, but you have released both instrumental and vocal albums, such as the aforementioned Little Brother is Watching. Why did you decide to make this one instrumental, and are we going to hear more vocal albums in the future?
Maybe I'll do some more singing in the future, yeah. Yeah, but I had the itch. I needed to scratch it. It was a long time since I did an entirely instrumental, just guitar music, no vocals. Because usually what happens is I get an idea for a song, I'm driving, suddenly just start getting some idea in my head for a song, and then I'll just go to my phone, I'll be like, okay, song idea number 3072. Save it on the phone and kind of forget about it. But as I'm singing the song, as I'm driving, start coming up with words, and it becomes something vocal. But every time I do that, I'm denying myself a guitar melody. So this time, I just covered up my mouth so that I couldn't, nope. And instead, just made sure that everything was guitar. So a lot of the melodies that I normally sing, this time I'm playing. And I think overall, in my own music, it creates a better balance where there's more melody and not so shreddy. Yeah.
Okay. Now I want to talk about the cover of the album, which is featuring your double neck guitar turned into a spaceship. Whose idea was it?
It was my idea because my very first album, and there were a lot of similarities. Like, I wanted this album to almost feel like a sequel to the first album, just 30 years of growth later. So my first album that I put out, let's see if I have it in here. I think I do. It had this Bumblefoot creature, this thing that was half bee, half foot. Is this it? Yes. That was flying overhead as like the main character of the art, which of course eventually became the guitar. So, and this time, 30 years later, I wanted to make it where the guitar I use now is the main character of the artwork. So instead of it being this flying bee foot thing, it's spaceship of this guitar. So I hired an artist I tried to do it myself. The art was coming out terrible. So I hired a good artist to do it. And then we had someone convert it to a 3D render. So this way, it could be used in video. It could be like anytime you want to have that space guitar ship at a different angle, all you do is you just tilt the 3D rendering and just make a 2D image of it. You don't have to redraw it every time. So that took a long time. That took a good amount of time to convert into a 3D model. And then for the artwork of the album, I just made different angles, different perspectives, and would save transparent background files of the guitar. And then I made all these strange, little cheese asteroids and weird creatures and stuff. Gave them all to the main artist. Said, turn this into an album cover. turn this into album art. Just, I'm trusting you, just take it and run with it. And that's what he came up with. Yeah.
Okay. Now, I wanted to talk about the tour that you have not announced yet if you are going to do a tour. Will be a tour to promote the album? And is there any chance that we see you in Spain?
Oh, I would love to. It's been so long since I've been to Spain. Sons of Apollo almost went there in 2020. We were about to go and the world shut down. Yeah. I'm trying to tour as little as possible. What I want to do now for the rest of my life is not live in a van or a tour bus and just do like one-off events. Do a festival, do clinics and teaching and master classes and things like that. So hopefully if there's an opportunity to do this in Spain, I would love to. Yes.
Okay. Now you have an incredible technique, but I always thought you were not the typical shredder, as they would say. Instead, you prioritize the song over your personal showmanship. What do you think of that? Do you consider yourself someone who wants to show off, or someone that wants the song to look the best that it can?
The song is the most important thing, always. The song is the most important thing. The song is the boss. We're just the mere employees of that boss. So the song always comes first. The feeling you get from the song comes before the play. The playing must serve the feeling. And I feel like a lot of times I have to do something that is a little flashy, but I think it's more that I think people expect it of me, but it's not necessarily true. I don't have to always do that. And there are some songs in the album that don't do that, that are, just more singable melody stuff without total craziness. But then there's other ones that are crazy. So a little bit of both. But in the end, the most important thing is the song and the feeling you get from it. If I like to, a lot of times, have people feel like everything is chaos and intensity, I like letting that out. But sometimes, sometimes I just like to be more mellow, but not very often.
Okay. Now we wanted to ask you about something that obviously everyone asks you about, which is your time in Guns N' Roses. You were for 8 years in that band, and even though not even only Axl Rose was the original member that was left. How was it to be in such a monumental band? And did you feel it fully integrated in the band, like a full-on member?
I did, yes. And did 8 years, and we played a lot of shows and released music, and hopefully made people very happy. Yeah.
You participated in the recording of one of the most famous albums in history because of how long it took to make, Chinese Democracy. How do you feel after all this time about being part of such a known album?
Oh, I'm proud to be part of it. And I was in the band. I joined 2006. The album was out in 2008. So for me, it was not that long of a time. We would lay guitar tracks in between touring in 2006, 2007, and then the next year the album came out. Yeah,